Today's presenter is Dr. Victoria Leiphart. She is board certified in obstetrics and gynecology. She is also a member of the Washington Township Medical Foundation.
I am going to talk about reclaiming your confidence. We don't really have to be, Linda Carter or Gal Gadot but we can learn something from their confidence and their ability and willingness to take on the world. The focus of the talk is going to be on body image and how that can affect your sense of yourself and how you can move on from the messages we all hear from society. It turns out that the more time you spend reading these beauty magazines and the more time you spend on social media, the worse your self-esteem. This is really a growing problem for teenagers and younger women. They've been raised with all of this social media, all of these images, and they are particularly vulnerable to those messages. And we're all vulnerable to those messages, but especially for younger women who are just starting to have a sense of themselves, it is especially damaging. And we're all told that if you're not young and thin and blonde with perfect airbrushed skin and makeup, then you are not beautiful. This beach body picture, this blonde woman, those are the messages that we get as women, that this is what is beauty. And we don't look like this. We all hear the message that if you have wrinkles, you are not beautiful. If you have stretch marks, you are not beautiful. If you have cellulite, you are not beautiful, unless you're a man, right? Men can have wrinkles, they can have gray hair. They are considered handsome, they are considered distinguished. Women are only considered beautiful, made up, airbrushed, hair colored. We get very different messages about what beauty is for a woman. And we get the message that if you are not beautiful, then you are not worthy. You are not worthy of love, you are not worthy of attention, that you are not a worthy woman. This starts very young for our children. The media shows pretty people as good people and less pretty people as cruel or evil. And this starts from childhood stories, childhood cartoons. Good witch, bad witch, right? 99% of girls have Barbies. The average number of Barbies for a girl is 8. And the studies are very clear that Barbies have an adverse effect on body image for small girls. That even a single incident of playing with a Barbie gives them a sense of reduced self-worth. There were studies where they gave them a doll that looked like Barbie, a doll that looked like a human, and Legos. And the kids, boys and girls, who played with Barbie had a lower sense of self-worth and a negative body image, playing with Barbie once. Fortunately, I had a son. I had already declared when I was pregnant that if I had a girl, it was going to be a Barbie, our house would be a Barbie-free zone. The other thing that's very popular for little girls is the whole Disney princess culture. And Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, they're comatose. They're comatose. But they get the prince and they have true love because they're pretty. Nothing. They're comatose. They do nothing. They add nothing to this relationship. But they are pretty, so they get the prince. The Little Mermaid. She abandons her family. She alters her body in ways that are irreversible, and she gives up her voice to find love, gives up her voice. What kind of a message are we giving to young people? That you have to give up your ability to speak your truth, to speak at all, to be able to get a man. That is a terrible message that we give to little girls. And the truth is, the women that we consider unbelievably beautiful women, these celebrities only look like this because they are made up and airbrushed. Even they don't look like celebrities without makeup. And they look like us. They look like our friends and neighbors. They look like the people we see at Sprouts. They just look like normal humans when they are not airbrushed. No one actually looks like these flawless women on TVs and in the magazines and in films. No one looks like that. Even they don't look like that. These are some of the most beautiful women in the world. And I love this social movement to post no makeup selfies. That even Scarlett Johansson and Helen Mirren, who are unbelievably beautiful women, they just look like ordinary women. They look like your friends when they are not all made up. But no one looks like this. They don't either. Cindy Crawford, supermodel from the 1980s. She's a mature woman. She's in her 50s. She's had babies. Those cellulite, thin-free thighs, thin thighs, no one has those. She doesn't either. And real women have jiggles, real women have wrinkles. And I love that she has posted this picture of her real body before and after airbrushing. And my husband, to his credit, looked at this picture and said, I think she looks pretty great. She's obviously fit. She obviously takes care of herself. She looks good. And I thought, this is why we're married. I was looking at my talk last night, and that was my husband's response. And I thought, and I looked at him and I said, that's because you have a realistic idea of what a fit woman who takes care of herself but is in her 50s looks like. These societal messages are slowly changing. You can now buy normal sized dolls. That picture that I showed you before of Barbie with a normal looking doll, that normal looking doll in the previous slide is not commercially available. It was actually just made up to have the same body proportions as the average American 19-year-old. But these two dolls up in the corner, they are commercially available. One is called Emmy, one is called Lamely. You can buy those for your daughters and your granddaughters. And I think that that's great, that we're starting to get dolls for girls that look like actual humans. And that there's a push to have dolls that have accomplishments, that do something. I mean, Barbie, to their credit, I trash talk Barbie, but Barbie, to their credit, has come out with scientist dolls, president dolls, that are a little more empowering for women. But the body image, that has not really changed. That is very detrimental to young girls. And we're starting to see more body positive media campaigns that your body is the perfect body, that if you want a bikini body, just put a bikini on your body. You have a bikini body. And we're starting to see a little shift in society, a more inclusive body positive image, but these are still rare images. these are still not typically what you see in the magazines. Most of the magazines still show young, thin, airbrushed humans. As a result of this focus on our bodies and this sense that we are not worthy unless we have a certain body, it has created a really toxic environment for women and has caused us to have a really unhealthy relationship with food and with eating. Half of adult women describe themselves as dieting at any given time. And even the other half mostly say, I should be dieting even though I'm not. And this starts young. 90% of teenagers have dieted, and half of preteens. The average age for a young girl to start dieting in this country is 8. 8. Let that sink in. That's third grade. It was 14 in the 1970s when, most of us were young women. 80% of 10-year-olds feel that they should diet. And Weight Watchers cutoff used to be 13. You can now join Weight Watchers at 10. Half of first to third graders wish that they were thinner. Half. First to third graders. So we really have developed this unhealthy obsession about food and dieting. And I love this quote, and I'm going to read it to you. A culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one. And I think all the time that if we took the energy that we spent dieting and obsessing about our appearance and took that energy and did something happy, productive, think of all the things we could accomplish if we took that time and energy and put it to something that gave us joy instead of made us feel inadequate. And I love the Mindy Kaling quote, "No man tells me what to do with my body. Only women's magazines can do that." How to know if a diet is a fad diet. If it advocates, some magic miracle supplement or some magic food, then it's a fad diet. If it tells you that you should eliminate an entire food group or that you should eat massive consumptions of another food group, then you have to realize that that is a fad diet. And all of these diets promise rapid weight loss. They all say, oh, no exercise required. And they all sound too good to be true because they are all too good to be true. For a lot of these crazy diets, and most women have tried at least one of these crazy diets, you get rapid weight loss initially, which, gets us all very excited. But if you look a year out for all of these diets, there is no greater weight loss than just eating a sensible diet. And there's none of these diets, these radical, crazy diets, are sustainable. But we all just keep hoping. The magazine says we can lose 50 pounds in a week by eating chocolate cake 3 times a day. Now that's a diet that makes sense. That's what we all hope for, right? We all want a diet where we eat chocolate cake 3 times a day. We all know that that is not a sensible diet. We intuitively understand that. None of these diets, these wacko diets, are sustainable. And for most people, after they crash lose the weight, they gain it all back and typically, unfortunately, gain more back. So what's the alternative? What do we do instead of these crazy diets? And the alternative is to listen to your body. It sounds really simple. It's not that simple. You should eat when you're hungry, right? That seems basic. But most of us don't do that. Most of us eat to the clock. It's 7 a.m., I'm having breakfast. It's noon, I'm having lunch. We eat to the clock. Stop eating when you're satisfied. Most of us have lost that ability to listen to our bodies and know when we are satisfied. And if we eat to the point where we're ill and stuffed, most of us recognize that sensation. But if you stop when you are satisfied, that's actually a harder skill to learn. And most of us are wolfing our food down so fast that we don't even have time for that stomach signal to reach the brain that we've had enough food. Most of us eat until the plate's empty. Eating food that makes you feel good, we all think, oh, great, that means the chocolate cake diet. But what that really means is food that makes you feel good 6 hours after you ate it, 24 hours after you ate it. That chocolate cake tastes good in the short term, and you get that sugar rush. But 6 hours after you eat it, you feel sluggish. You really don't feel that good. 24 hours after you eat it, 48 hours after you eat it, the studies actually show that if you eat that high sugar, high fat, high simple carb stuff that we all crave, the cookies, the cake, the candy, you actually have a reduction in mood, a more depressed mood for about 48 hours after eating that stuff. And it's not immediate. It's like the next day and the day after. And so it's all about learning what foods make your body happy. We all know that if we go out and eat high-fat, high-salt food, that we feel sluggish, we don't feel as good, that our gut isn't as happy the next day. We all know that our body doesn't feel good when we eat like that. And move your body. I'm going to talk about that more later. And trust yourself. We've lost our ability to be in tune with our bodies and trust our judgment. We listen to diet experts, quote unquote, instead of listening to our bodies, listening to our own wisdom, listening to the cultural food practices that we were all raised with. We have lost the ability to listen to ourselves. We are prey to all of these people who claim to be experts. This is how Americans really eat. We eat in the car. We eat in front of the TV. We eat at our desk. And we're wolfing down food. Portion size has changed. Since the 1970s, portion size is about 30% larger. The average American dinner plate has gone from 9 inches to 12 inches. And unfortunately, for most of us, where we get our sense of appropriate portion size is from restaurant meals. And a third of meals are consumed outside the home, and half of those are fast food. In fact, 1 in 4 of us, 25% of us, eat fast food every day. And 20% of food is consumed in cars. So we've lost our ability to listen. We eat to visual cues. We eat because it's there on the plate. If you serve someone, if you give someone a bigger spoon and a bigger bowl, they will eat more ice cream than if you give them a smaller bowl and a smaller spoon. if there was a popcorn experiment where they had like 3-day-old nasty stale popcorn and gave people free popcorn as they were going into the movie. And if they gave them a small container, they ate like half of it, because this was not palatable popcorn. It was disgusting. And then if they gave them a big container, they ate half of it. And so no matter what size container, they ate about half of it before stopping. And there was a study where they had an endless bowl of soup and they were feeding it in from the bottom. If the people in the experiment just kept eating soup, and in spite of the fact that they ate double the amount that they would have if the bowl had been filled to a normal volume, they felt unsatisfied. They were still hungry because the visual cue was that the bowl, the level in the bowl was not dropping. And we all think, oh, that wouldn't happen to me, but guess what? We all eat to these visual cues. So how do you relearn how to eat? You really have to kind of go back to your childhood. Children are naturally intuitive eaters. They listen to their bodies. They'll say, no, I've had enough, even of something that they really like. And sometimes they'll want to only eat one thing or something. But for the most part, kids will listen to their bodies. When I was visiting all my relatives in Mississippi, and if it ain't fried, it ain't good, that kind of eating habit there. After a few days of eating, all this fried food and all the, chips and, hush puppies and fried, chicken and all that, my son looked at me and he said, "Is there any broccoli here, Mom?" He was 4. And my relatives are like, "Have you brainwashed that child?" I said, "No, he just knows that he doesn't feel as good as he normally does. He normally eats lots of veggies and he feels good, and he knows he doesn't feel good. Even a 4-year-old can tell that he does not feel good eating that diet." And so that's what I mean by intuitive eating. Learning to listen to your body, not just in that instant that you're eating, but how do you feel later? How do you feel the next day? That's why I am not a big believer in some magical diet. I don't think that everybody should be paleo or vegan or whatever. Pick your poison. I think that if you listen to your body, for most of us, we find that if we eat more fruits and vegetables, that if we eat whole grains, if we eat, lentils or beans, that we just feel better, that we feel better. And what makes you feel good is going to be individual to you. Some people will love to eat seafood. For other people, they don't feel good if they eat it. Some people feel great if they eat, red meat. Other people, they don't feel good when they eat it. You just have to listen to your body and learn to listen to those bodily cues and learn to eat in a way that makes you feel good. What you eat should not be about punishment. It should not be about deprivation. Mindful eating is all about what makes you feel good. Practices that improve your ability to focus on your body, listen to your bodily sensations, like yoga or meditation, can be really helpful because they force you to slow down, to take a breath, and to actually listen to your body cues. And nobody can do this for you. That's this actually takes a little learning and a little work. it's not, at the beginning, it's harder than just saying, I'm not going to eat a carbohydrate, or I'm not going to eat red meat. You know, if you have rules that you can follow, that in some ways is easier. Learning how to really listen to your body, especially at the beginning, it's a little more work. But we know that this is what we should do, right? This just makes sense, right? Right, ladies? I like, does it pass the apple test? This is a great way to know whether what you're feeling is emotional hunger or physical hunger. If it's physical hunger, comes on gradually. There's plenty of different foods you could eat that would satisfy that hunger. You eat until you feel like you've eaten enough. You're not inclined to overeat. You don't feel guilty that you ate something. If it's emotional hunger, if you're eating because you're bored, because you're stressed, because you're tired, because you're lonely, then oftentimes what you have is a specific craving. It must be chocolate. And you tend to overeat it because you're not satisfying a physical hunger. You're satisfying boredom or depression or something else. And so you tend to overeat because that food was never going to actually meet that need and make that sensation go away. And so we overeat. And I like the Cookie Monster. Today, me will live in the moment unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat a cookie, right? And I want to emphasize that not all eating what we call bad food is emotional eating. That it is totally fine to eat that beautiful flourless chocolate cake with whipped cream and fresh raspberries for a special occasion. In the United States, if you do free association, in France, you say the word chocolate cake to someone, and the first word that pops into their mind is celebration. You say that to an American, and the first word that they associate with chocolate cake is guilt. Guilt. And eating those foods, those are not bad foods. They are foods for celebration, for special occasions. They should be eaten without guilt. And there really is not such a thing as bad food. And there's no such thing as something that you should just never eat. There's plenty of things you shouldn't eat very much of, but there's no such thing that you should absolutely never eat. Exercise. For most of us, we think of exercise in the same way that we think about dieting. That it's about punishment, it's about deprivation. But just like intuitive eating, exercise should be all about what makes your body feel good. It should be, you should have intuitive movement in the same way you have intuitive eating. You need to find some kind of movement practice that either gives you joy or makes your body feel good or meets your social needs. For most people, if they exercise with friends, they're just more likely to keep doing it. And if you take an exercise class and you get that social component, you're more likely to continue doing it. You know, there's a reason that there are so many treadmills on Craigslist, because it is boring, it feels like punishment, it's And for some people, they love the treadmill. They can get into that Zen space and feel great on the treadmill. But for most of us, the treadmill is torture. And that is not what exercise should be. It is not about punishment. It is about finding something that you actually like doing. Because if you like doing it, then you're actually going to continue doing it. And if you think of taking a walk as something that you do for pleasure, that you like going outdoors, you like seeing what your neighbors have done to their garden, you like being up on Mission Peak or Pleasanton Ridge because the views are beautiful and you can see some nature and you get to see the wildflowers blooming. If you think of it as pleasurable, you'll actually exercise longer than if you say, oh, it's exercise, I gotta go do it. And so find some kind of dance, yoga, water aerobics, something that meets your social needs, that you enjoy, that you look forward to doing. And if you exercise with people or if it's a scheduled class, you're more likely to keep doing it. Belly dance is fun. These are a few more tips to sort of address the issues of body image and confidence. The focus of my talk was predominantly nutrition and exercise, but I have a few more things that I want to throw in as well. Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, has written a book called Presence. Some of her studies have been discredited, but what she's most well known for is talking about powerful body stances. So I want to invite all of you to stand up. And we are going to stand in a superwoman pose. Feet apart, hands on your hips, and proud chest, lift your head. If you stand like this, it makes you feel more powerful. If you're about to give a presentation, if you go and stand in the bathroom like this for 2 minutes, it actually changes your hormone levels. It lowers your cortisol, your stress hormone levels, and it raises your testosterone, that confidence, bold hormone. And women in general tend to sit in less powerful poses. We sit closed off, we curl up, we make ourselves small. These power poses are all about being big, making yourself big, making yourself feel confident. You get Wonder Woman. Beyonce, she owns the power pose, baby. She is all about the power pose. This politician, doesn't she look intimidating? She is fierce. And the very famous statue of the girl on Wall Street, that is a classic power pose. And it really does make you feel different. It feels stupid and Mickey Mouse to stand like Wonder Woman, but it affects your physiology, it affects your body. All right, ladies, you can sit down. Do you all feel more powerful? Yes, right? You all feel more confident. You feel more powerful. Just standing in that position gives you the sense that you are a powerful and confident woman. Wear what makes you happy. That's why I wore something bold and loud and flashy today. Of course, I do that every day. For those of you who know me, I kind of dress like this all the time. But I was mindful of what I put on this morning because of this. And we all get these messages that we should dress a certain way, that once you're a certain age, you shouldn't wear short skirts, that you shouldn't wear clashing prints, that you shouldn't wear horizontal stripes. All of that. It's nonsense, ladies. Wear what gives you joy, wear what makes you happy. And that's one of the joys of getting to be a little bit older. You feel more confident in your presence, in your choices. One of my favorite expressions is a Southern expression that goes, when I was in my 40s, I stopped caring that people disapproved of me. And when I was in my 50s, I started enjoying it. And it's true. It is true. And the woman in the upper left, she's actually a social work professor at Fordham University in New York. And when she went to Fashion Week, all the paparazzi started taking her picture, and her friend says, "Oh my gosh, you're an accidental icon." So she blogs as the accidental icon. And some of the others are just kind of street style, but I love the Wonder Woman costume in the middle. The woman on the far left has become an Instagram sensation. She is in her middle 90s. Her name is Batty Winkle, and she wears, oh my gosh, the most outrageous things you could possibly ever put on your body. And she is a huge Instagram sensation. Iris Apfel, just a fashion icon. She is also now in her middle 90s, and she is all about bold choices. And I love the quote from her. "My attitude has always been first. I dress to suit myself." And, you know, clearly these ladies in the bottom row, they are my fashion icons. The ladies at the top, maybe a little too subdued for me. The ladies in the bottom, by my mid-90s, that's what I want to look like. I'm working my way toward that. Do what gives you joy. This again is, goes back to my message of all that time and energy we spend on hair and makeup and dieting and all of that crazy stuff. You should do what gives you meaning, what gives you pleasure, what gives you joy, what gives you a sense of fulfillment. Paint, read, knit, meditate, volunteer, adopt a pet, spend time with your friends and your family. Those are the things that give your life a sense of meaning, not your body, not what you look like. And if you do what makes you feel full, then you don't have to eat unhealthy food to feel full. And some of the things that you do that give you joy will also be good for your health, like yoga and hiking and cooking with your friends or family. Those give you a sense of fulfillment, they give you a sense of living a rich life, and they contribute to your good health. I say this all the time. Young women are pretty, but older women are beautiful. And one of my belly dance instructors used to say that a belly dancer is not really a beautiful dancer until she is at least in her 40s, because she does not have the life experience to bring to the dance that a younger woman does. And you see this at the belly dance festivals, that the younger women may be technically proficient, they may be just incredibly athletic and beautiful dancers, but it is the mature dancers that give you an emotional feeling about their dance, because they bring their life to their dance, and they bring a maturity and a wisdom that a younger dancer does not. And your age does not define you. And I hate that for women, the ultimate compliment is, oh, you look younger than you are. It's nice when people say that, I know that they mean well, but what I want to hear is, you look great for your age, you have such vitality, you bring such joy. Those are the things that are meaningful, and it's where our real beauty comes from. It is not from the cosmetic industry and the anti-aging industry, cosmetics, creams, Botox, all of this stuff, is $250 billion in this country. $250 billion, all as part of anti-aging. And there is some shift as women are talking more about not trying to look younger. In fact, Allure magazine, which just recently showed Helen Mirren, wrinkles and all, on the cover, has banned the term anti-aging for their ads, which I think is just great. And because that's not what beauty really comes from. Your beauty comes from your life experiences, and your face reflects your life experiences. And it is all about your sense of vitality. This last woman is a yoga teacher who's also in her middle 90s. You notice that these women are my idols here, because that's what I want to age toward. And she looks like she's levitating. That's because she's supporting herself on her arms. So she is a strong, fit, and vital woman. Your body is imperfect, and your body is beautiful. Learning to love and honor your body is something that is very difficult for us as women. We all of us, every one of us, do that negative self-talk where we look in the mirror and we go, oh, a little lift here wouldn't be bad. I'm getting the wrinkles, or, oh man, look at those jiggly bits. We all do that negative self-talk. Even the most confident of us does that. And it's really hard to unlearn that, because we get those societal messages from such a young age. And we learn to judge our bodies and the bodies of others. And it's very hard, even if we seem confident and don't do that negative self-talk out loud, most of us are still thinking it. And it feels stupid, but if you practice saying positive things about your body to the mirror, or practice thinking something, when you find yourself doing that negative self-talk, say something positive about your body. It can adjust the way you think. And I like the quote of, only loving your body when it's perfectly fit is like only loving your children when they're perfectly behaved. And it's true. And loving your body is more than loving your looks. It's about loving what your body can do, loving that you can move freely in the world, loving that you were able to give birth to a baby, that you were able to walk around Lake Elizabeth, whatever. And I put in the Amy Schumer quote, I say if I'm beautiful, I say if I'm strong, you will not determine my story, I will. And she's a very strong advocate for body positivity. While I was putting this talk together, one of my girlfriends sent me a text saying, did you know about this movie? You need to talk about it in your talk. She's got a movie coming out called I Feel Pretty. And it's all about a woman who exercises and diets and yet still feels unhappy about her body, and she lacks confidence in her abilities, and she suffers a head injury. And when she comes to, she looks in the mirror and she sees herself as a gorgeous woman. She sees herself as beautiful. And it is all about how her life changes when she starts behaving with the confidence of a woman who believes that she is beautiful. And it's about how she dresses and how people react to her, how they respond to her differently, because she enters into the world as a woman who has the confidence that she is beautiful. And it's a goofy premise, I acknowledge that, but I love that message that so much of beauty is your attitude. It is what you bring into the world, and that some of the most beautiful women in the world are not women that are traditionally pretty. They are women who just have that confidence, and it's something that can be learned. Practice saying, here's the easiest thing to start. When somebody gives you a compliment, say, yes, thank you. This is the hardest thing for us to do as women, right? When somebody compliments you on something, you negate the compliment. When somebody says, I get a lot of compliments about my gray hair, because I've been gray since my teens. And people say, oh, I love your hair. And I would say, I just can't be bothered to dye it, even though it makes me look older. And you really have sort of insulted them. You've really said, your opinion is not valuable. I do not value your opinion. And now my standard response when somebody says, I love your hair, is I smile and I say, I do too. And they look at me like, oh, isn't that great? And they have this completely different response to me when they compliment me and I say, thank you, I agree. Try it. People look at you kind of shocked when they compliment you and you say, thanks, I agree. They look at you like you've lost your mind, because that is not a typical response from a woman, right? But I encourage all of you to at least just say thank you and then shut up. Or if you're able to and have the boldness, and clearly I am not a woman who lacks in boldness, if you have the boldness, say thanks, I agree. It is astonishingly hard to do. It is something that, honest to goodness, I work on. That is the way we want to all live in the world. That you love and honor your body and that of other people. And that's my real take-home message for this talk. It is, eat like you love yourself. Move like you love yourself, not like you're punishing yourself, like you love yourself. Talk about your body the way you would speak about a cherished friend, your most beloved family members. You would never talk about them the way you talk about yourself. If you talked about your friends the way you talk about yourself, you would have no friends. And sometimes, even if you're not really feeling it, act like you feel it. You can sort of fake it till you make it. And you can feel more confident if you just act like you feel more confident. And honestly, you will start to feel more confident. I mean, I know nobody believes it now, but I was extremely shy when I was younger. And I made a decision when I went to college and no one knew me and I could have a fresh start, that I was just not going to be this shy, reserved girl that I had been. And I kind of was a little over the top thin. One of my college roommates said, you know, you never just walk into a room, you make an entrance. And she used to tell me that if I could just tone it down and have that quiet self-confidence, that it would allow me to just, you know, really reach my full potential. And she truly saw me for who I was. She knew that a lot of it was an act, but she also knew that I could internalize some of it, and that I could grow into the woman that I am now. And I encourage all of you, even if you're not entirely feeling it, to try to just do some of these things. And what I really want to say is pass this on to our daughters and to our granddaughters. Once we feel more empowered and confident, we need to empower the girls and the young women in our lives. Don't call your daughters and granddaughters princess. It just perpetuates a stereotype. Don't tell them they're pretty. Tell them that they're funny and strong, and that they have big hearts, and that they're bold. Don't tell them that they're pretty. We start this when kids are babies. If you listen to the way that people talk about babies, they talk about pretty girls and strong boys, even in infancy. And that is not the message we want to give to our daughters. We want them to feel that they are beautiful. We want them to feel confident in their bodies and their looks. But we do not want their sense of self to be predominantly about what they look like. And for most young women, especially teenage women, their sense of self is about what they look like. And that is not what their sense of their worth should be based on. I'm going to end by reading an amazing poem by that literary goddess, Maya Angelou, called Phenomenal Woman. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care, 'cause I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Thank you very much.